here today.
All right. Well, this is our bidding for DAGWould today. I know we have some faces here that some of us don't recognize. And I guess we can go around and introduce ourselves to everybody. So I'm Mark Brogan, retired Army captain, and I'm a member of the board here. So just go around, I guess. Start with me. And then in my box, I have Sarah. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm new. This is my first meeting. I am a founding member of Club Vibes, which is visually impaired blind enhanced services. We assist visually impaired and blind youth with transitioning from high school, secondary school to the workforce, college, independent living, things like that. So.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Keep calling them out, Mark.
Right. And let's see, Nancy, you're next on my box. So
I'm Nancy Brown. I'm former Dean of Workforce Development at Walters State. We worked a lot with disability and individuals with disability to get them to work. And I myself have MS.
And, Margaret, I think, is next.
I think you're on mute, Margaret.
Yeah, there we go. I'm Margaret Butler. I'm a principal with McCarty Holsapple McCarty. We're the architectural firm that leading the design team for the Lonsdale Elementary School. And I and my team are here today with us. And we're delighted to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Allie.
Hi, I'm Allie Montgomery. I'm also with McCarty Holsapple McCarty, and we are very excited to present today.
Tomlin has joined the meeting.
And then Shazi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shazi Ahmed, and I am, I guess, our resident. I am with the physical disability. I had a spinal cord injury when I was 18. And from then on, I went to college and law school, and I worked in the legal field for a few years. And then I stopped to be a caregiver for my parents, and I recently lost them. So I'm kind of in transition, trying to just figure out what I want to do next. So yeah, welcome everyone.
Let's see, Matt Myers.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
My name is
April?
Matt Myers.
Go ahead.
Sorry, my name is Matt Myers. I'm the procurement director for Knox County government. And I'm here obviously on behalf of the county and McCarty Holsapple McCarty, and I'll be introducing them shortly.
All right. And
Yes, I'm Paul McCall. I'm also with McCarty Holsapple McCarty.
okay. Nice to have you. Stanley.
Yes, this is Stanley Taylor, and I'm the assistant director with Spark, which is an assistive technology center.
And April.
Hello, I'm April Tomlin. I'm over the Knox County Senior Centers, the 6 Knox County Senior Centers. I'm here on behalf of the seniors.
Okay,
Lauren Lucchese. It just says L Lucchese.
Go ahead.
And I'm with McCarty as well.
Okay, nice to have you. Let's see, who else do we have? Some ITP. Myers is here.
I think Catherine's next.
This is Myers Morton. I'm the Knox County Law Director's Office.
Okay, and Catherine.
This is Catherine Moore with the Disability Resource Center.
And I'm Faith Coquit with the Disability Resource Center.
Paul McCall.
Oh
no, I'm sorry. I saw your. Yeah. So you're on there twice for some reason. I was just.
Oh yeah. So sorry about that. I'm on the screen and on my phone. So yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just reading it. All right, and then Cindy.
And I'm Cindy Pianchi, and I'm the staff liaison for the DAGWould committee with Knox County's Department of Human Resources.
All right, well, thank everybody for being here. It's nice to see everyone. And well, just jump right into our presentation then.
And that would be Matt is going to do the introductions for the group. So Matt, you're up.
Yeah. Thank you, Cindy. Once again, I'm Matt Myers. I'm the procurement director for Knox County government, and it's my pleasure to introduce the architectural firm who is designing and has designed the Lonsdale Elementary School that actually will start construction in about a week and a half with some site work. So we are very, very excited to get this project going. McCarty Hosapple McCarty is the largest architectural firm in Knoxville, serving this community and East Tennessee for over 50 years with architectural and interior design services. The McCarty Hosapple McCarty team is guided by an approach to the delivery of planning and design services that has been developed over the span of its practice. McCarty Hosapple McCarty's collaborative effort between the design team and the client is paramount to the success of a project, and I can certainly attest to that. When we did the Gibbs Middle School, beautiful facility. The McCarty Hosapple McCarty approach is based upon belief in the clarity of process, design rigor, commitment to comprehensive documentation, and the dedication to taking responsibility for the project from beginning to end, committed service to the client. The Lonsdale Elementary School project is being delivered to Knox County through a design-build relationship with Rouse Construction leading the team and McCarty Hosapple McCarty serving as the architect interior designers. This is a little bit different process than what is typically done when there is the more traditional method is a design, bid, and then build. This is a design-build relationship that puts McCarty with Rouse is how they partnered up. They worked together to design and then build the school. Fulton McIndoe serving as civil engineers, ESG is serving as mechanical, plumbing, electrical engineers, and Haynes Structural Group as the structural engineer. Serving as McCarty Hosapple McCarty's principal on the project is Margaret Butler. The project designer is Richard Foster, who I don't believe we have on the call today. Our project manager is Paul McCall. Our project architect is Ali Montgomery, and the interior designer is Lauren Luchesi. So we're thankful for all of these being on the call, those who could make it. And we've done an excellent job so far, and we're not finished yet. We're certainly on the back stretch and headed toward the finish line with the design. Finally, the McCarty Hosapple McCarty team has an extensive experience in pre-K-12 educational design and relied on this expertise as they designed the school to meet the Knox County school standards and ADA guidelines. The most recent Knox County school completed, as I mentioned, by McCarty Hosapple McCarty was the Gibbs Middle School, which opened in 2018. The McCarty Hosapple McCarty team will be happy to discuss the accessibility arrangements for the new Lonsdale Elementary School. And with that being said, I would like to turn it over to Miss Margaret Butler. On mute.
Sorry, I do that so I don't get any background noise to interrupt anybody. Sorry. Thanks again, Matt. Just again, expressing how honored our firm is to be working with Knox County to design the new Lonsdale Elementary. It's in a really tight-knit community. It's a little bit different from most schools for Knox County in that it's an urban school. It's got a real tight-knit, neighborhood around it. So that in and of itself made it a unique opportunity for us to be involved in. We've really enjoyed the process and look forward to seeing it come out of the ground soon. So I've asked our project architect, Ali Montgomery, and Paul McCall and Lauren Lucchese and I might just pop in and deuce an idea or two as Allie goes through, but we thought it might be good to just kind of walk through the project first, give you an idea of the overall design, and then we're happy to kind of dive in or highlight those areas which have been specially designed to meet ADA or special needs to make it as accessible as possible. So with that, Allie, you might want to share screen perhaps and just kind of walk us through things.
I will do that.
Please feel free to pop up with any questions, or obviously we'll stay as late as we need to at the end to answer any questions and host any discussion that we can about the project.
Are you all seeing my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, perfect. All right, so like Margaret said, please jump in if you have any questions. We do have plenty of time at the end for questions. I'll just start by running through the project and we'll jump into some specific spaces. But the design team, yes, feel free to chime in with anything that I miss as well. So like Margaret said, we're going to be discussing Lonsdale Elementary School today. So just to kind of orient everyone to where we're at, it's going to be the same location as the existing Lonsdale Elementary School. This is Connecticut Avenue on the north and Louisiana Avenue on the south. And this light gray box right here is the existing building. And this dark gray box is the new building that will be going on the site. We have a couple entrances. We have an entrance from Connecticut on the north, and then we have an entrance from Louisiana on the south. And these are the main entries for the bus drop off and the carpool, as well as, you know, the kids that are walking from the neighborhoods directly surrounding. And then we have the parking lot over here to the east, and there's a sidewalk that leads to another entry right here where you can enter a little closer from the parking lot. We have a courtyard in the center, and that kind of leads to this playground. There's an existing creek right here, and we have a little wall, and this is all built up on a plinth, and you'll be able to see that in some of the 3D views that we have. So this is one of those 3D early preliminary views. You can see there's that south entrance from Louisiana. There's this built up area with the courtyard, and there will be a playground in this area where my mouse is. Are you guys able to see when I point? Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. And then there's that parking lot we were discussing. And as Margaret discussed, very urban. This is the surrounding neighborhood. It's really tightly knit in there. This is the view of that courtyard. And this is, again, one of those preliminary views. You can access, this is, the playground area is directly on the same level as the street. So you can access that from the street level. And that just creates a really nice open area for the playground and for easy access from these two main classroom wings of the building. There's the creek I was mentioning.
I'll point out too here, Allie, on that previous slide is, as you can imagine, putting a school down in a tight-knit residential neighborhood like this, we had a lot of stormwater concerns and issues we needed to address. And so lifting this or allowing this playground to be more formalized within these walls, we were able to put the storm detention underground. So that really helped in that manner. But also there was a concern from the school system that, you know, children would get down in that creek. The creek is actually, and the trees around it are it's kind of a nice feature to the site, and it's pretty to look at. It's just that, you know, certainly with a school and small elementary and preschool school-age children, they were concerned that they might get down in the creek. So that does allow them to have a nice play area without concern of getting too close to the water.
Yes, that's a great point, Margaret. And also, I forgot to mention, this is that north entry from Connecticut. It's also on the street grade as well. This is the view of that south entry. As you can see, it's very open to the street. On this side, we have some stairs that process up to the main entry. And then on the other side of this wall, we have a slight ramp that ramps up to the main entry as well. And you can see from this rendering, this school is 2 stories on one wing, and then 1 story in the rest of the building. And you'll be able to see that in the floor plans. So these are some early floor plans that just kind of break down the color and the organization of these spaces. So I'll run through this and then we'll look at the current floor plan as it is now. So this is that south entry, and we have the admin area down here in this corner. It's kind of this burnt orange color. And then we have these 2 classroom bars. So those are the green. And then we have this central spine that connects the 2. And we have the main core programs off of that. So we have the media center in the light purple, the gym in this seafoam color, and the cafeteria in this darker purple. We have music in the blue, and then a special program at Lonsdale is the City of Knoxville multi-purpose space, and that's down here in this darker plum purple. And art is this light blue. And then just the building services are in gray with 2 group toilets centrally located in each of the classroom bars. And like I mentioned, it is 2 stories on one of the classroom wings. So this southern classroom wing is the 2-story portion, and upstairs it's just more classrooms and a teacher work area. So those classrooms stack on top of each other in that southern wing. So this is the plan as it is now. It's basically the same orientation. There have been a few tweaks since then, but we just wanted to give everyone an idea of where the building is at in its current design stage. That's the second floor. And then we wanted to show some of the finish options that we have. So we were able to get community input, and they helped select the color palette for the school. And the vote was for a dark blue, light blue, and a yellow colors for the finishes. So this is just some examples of some of the finishes that will be in this building.
I'll point out that's the school's logo, and so
Yes.
there's always the county worked with the school system very closely to get. We've provided 3 or 4 options, I can't remember now, and allowed the students and the Lonsdale community to vote on which option they like best. And obviously, as many times happens, the school colors and school pride is what they wanted to represent in their interior finishes. So that's what we have.
And this is just a look at how those finishes will be implemented into the floor plan, using those colors, the blue blocks, to kind of help with wayfinding leading into classroom spaces, and just kind of breaking up these long corridors and giving it some character with the school colors like Margaret mentioned. And the same idea on the second floor, kind of just replicating what we're doing in the first floor classrooms. So now we'll just go into some of the more specific spaces, and we have some visualization renderings to kind of give it a feel for what the spaces will feel like inside. So this is a view of if you were standing in the south entry. When you first come in the double doors, you're standing in a vestibule, and you have the reception off to the right, and then you're kind of in that main spine corridor as you're looking forward. We have a plan of kind of how that works. You come in, you can go to the waiting, or you can go straight in to the rest of the building. And the specialty feature reception desk has some high panels, but then drops down to a low transaction counter as well. This is a view down that main corridor, highlighting the entry to the media center. There's a little bench just highlighting the special programs in that area. That's a look down those main corridors. You can see the wayfinding color blocks that lead into each classroom. And then we have this feature wall over here that could be really nice for something like a mural or some kind of wall graphic, like we're showing examples on the left of this slide. This is an example of what a typical classroom would look like. So you come in, you have your main teaching wall, and again, you have that colorful floor right there, and then it branches off and you have your cubby area and your countertop and your sink. Those are just some examples of other projects we've worked on where we've kind of incorporated some similar ideas. And this is just showing more depth kind of what we have in our drawings. This is the floor plan of a typical classroom. We have that cubby area down here with the sinks, and then we have our main teaching wall. And you can see how those cubbies look down here on the right-hand corner. And then again, some examples of previous projects we've worked on and how those were built. Looking at the gym, we do have a platform in this gym. It's 2 feet off of the floor, and we have a ramp that you enter up to get to this platform area. We're using color, as you can kind of see in this is an example image above of a previous project, but how we're kind of using that color block to accentuate the stage. I think that will be a really nice feature. This is a look again down that main corridor from the other direction, and you can see into the cafeteria space and back down the corridor in the media space again. And this is inside of the cafeteria. One of the things that we really loved when we were doing a walkthrough through the current school is that they have, you can see in this bottom left image, they have flags for all the countries of the kids that attend their school currently. And we thought that was just really nice way to celebrate all of the different backgrounds that they currently have at their school. So we wanted to make sure that we had a place for that in the new school to continue to celebrate that. So we're showing it as a possibility in the cafeteria right now. This is in the media center space. We have this big circulation desk kind of up and plan north. This is just some elevations of it. We have, the high counter, again, drops down to the low transaction counter on the corner. In the media center space, we have the bookcases kind of down here on the right, and then more open spaces for desks and a computer station up on the left-hand side. Then we have those 2 group toilets, like we highlight, or we actually have 3 because there's one on the second floor as well, but the core group toilets. So we just wanted to show an example of how those are working. We have all these stalls, and then we have the 2 accessible toilets with the changing rooms inside as well. And this is showing, we are also getting a little clip of the teacher workrooms, which also have accessible toilets as well. And then the CDC suite, we have 2 classrooms, and they're joined by a corridor, and those have all the shared spaces in them. So each classroom has the kitchenette area and the cubby area, and you can see those in elevation on the right-hand side. So we have the stove and the sink and some counter space, and then we have the cubbies and the sink area, just like in the other typical classrooms. And then in between, we have the toilet, shower, and changing area, the laundry area, and some storage rooms. There's also a meeting room for this suite as well. And again, those elevations for all of those spaces are on the right-hand side. So just to wrap up, we just wanted to highlight some of the spaces where we tried to really consider the accessibility needs of all of the users. So we talked about, the ramp at the south entry, since this wasn't able to be on grade on this side. The north entry is on grade, but we needed to consider the doors, the automatic openers that we've included to accommodate that. All of the restrooms are accessible. We talked about the group toilets, and we also talked about how the entry into the playground off of Connecticut is also on grade to ease access to the playground and the courtyard area. So that's what we had for the presentation. I don't know if I missed anything, if our team wants to jump in. I went over that quickly, so we can go back over anything that we need to as well.
Hey, Allie, I just wanted to say something kind of quickly. You know, we touched on the urban site and, you know, how it's really knit into this fabric. But, you know, until you try to design these with respect to accessibility, you know, it's really difficult because, you know, you'd be surprised. You go out to Lonsdale to the current site and it looks like a flat site, but there's actually about 5.5 to 6 feet of fall as the site goes from east to west. So, you know, sidewalks, we have no ability to change those. Cross slopes, you know, that are very clearly defined by ADA. They're very difficult to sort of knit, you know, your secondary walks that connect sidewalks into the building. So, you know, our civil engineers, you know, with Fulgham McIndoe, they did a great job of sort of knitting that in. And as Margaret explained, you know, we kind of got a bonus, sort of a double, sort of kill two birds with one stone, if you will, with the requirements of the underground detention to deal with stormwater, and being able to basically infill all of that, have a retaining wall, and make all of that playground area to the west of the building on grade is a huge benefit, you know, in terms of accessibility and just, you know, one constant level there. So just wanted to mention those things. It's, you know, like I say, it looks like a flat site, but there's really no such thing. And cross slopes and those requirements can be difficult to work through a lot of the time.
Well, thanks, Allie. Paul, I just please ask us any questions, and we're happy to dive in and give you additional detail wherever your interest leads us.
And I know my group is shy, but once we get rolling, they'll be fine. So to try to encourage in that direction, I'm going to go ahead and try to get the ball rolling, so to speak. Offhand, in regards to the student, how many students does this school can be there? Like, what's the current population? What can it expand to? And then do you have any idea if there are students that have disabilities that attend the school?
Cindy, I don't know the number of children with some type of disability at the school. I do know that we are combining Lonsdale with Sandy Hill. Okay, we're combining those two schools. They're 2 or 3 blocks apart. So we will have roughly 450 children. We're thinking in the new Lonsdale school. The school is being built for 600. Okay. We are building the school for 600 children. We were directed by the Board of Education. We had an alternate that we could add 6 more classrooms. And the school board asked us to go ahead and include those and just build them. And I totally agree. It's not going to get any cheaper. But this will also give them a few more classrooms for some of the programs that they have. As Margaret said, this is a very, very unique school. They have a lot of different programs that most other schools do not have. And it's not just 7:45 to what's elementary, 2:30, something like that. These programs go on till 6, 7 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So it was good that, you know, we're going ahead and include these extra classrooms that will give them even a little more capacity. You know, obviously with the 2-story, there's elevator access. You they showed the access to, in and from the school and around the school. I think we've done a good job. All of the signage will have, I probably don't have pictures of this, but the signage on each of the rooms will, be visual and braille. We have, there's color-coded tile kind of in the classrooms as well. Done a good job trying to include everything we can. Obviously, the restrooms are accessible. I don't know that Margaret and her group know this. They may, I think the group toilet, the two individual toilets at the front of the group toilets now need to be a little bit wider to account for, accessibility. That came from, I believe, the 2018 code that we've adopted here. So done a really good job at making this, accessible as possible, especially for the, for the population that they're serving, which is the elementary children.
Right. A couple things struck me in terms of just having reviewed some of the other schools that we have with our transition plan, like the playground that's outside. Is there a route to get to it? Because we got nailed big time for our different schools and parks and stuff, that there was not an actual route to get from the building or the parking lot to the actual like playground or to the ball field or whatever. And so that's what I was wondering about. That was one.
There is an accessible route. Allie put that back up on the screen now, but there's sidewalks that connect, and you can see where the sidewalk goes to the north and connects to the sidewalk on Connecticut. And then out of that wing of of both buildings, of both classroom wings, you can see that it connects over to the playground as well.
Right, but the actual play equipment itself, though, is there a path to get to it if someone were to need to, whether it was a mom using a stroller to get her child over to it, or a child in a wheelchair trying to get over to the playground equipment? Is there a physical way to do that other than maneuvering over the grass to get to the playground equipment?
That's a really good question. I don't, we have not yet, the county, I know, that's one of the areas that kind of falls like furniture or something. And so that equipment, as far as I know, hasn't been fully selected yet. But that's a really good point. And we've done that when we do playgrounds in schools and or, multifamily housing complexes or things. You bring up a great point. It's something we definitely need to look when that equipment's been picked out, how we'll make that easily accessible.
Because like I said, we got slammed on that across the board. And that was, my other question was going to be related to the furniture, because I noticed in some of the pictures, like particularly like in the cafeteria, once again, we got in trouble for not having any accessible seating. And that's been at all of our schools, whether it was in the cafeteria that there was not an accessible place, or if we had picnic tables out on the actual property itself. That there's this one design I keep seeing everywhere, that there is no way that anybody in a wheelchair, whether it was the child or say it was parents' day or grandparents' day to come by and eat with your child at school, there's nowhere for them to be at the table with the person. And so even on like I said, outdoor picnic tables, every single one of our schools that has them, we're non-compliant. All I can say is the word non-compliant. So those are the kinds of things I was wondering, is that part of what your responsibility is picking out furniture too, or not? Or I mean, that's part of the process I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. The furniture is actually a carve out. Cindy's what we call a carve out, kind of like the floor, the carpet or the floor tile It's what we call a carve out. There will be, I know we see a picture here, but there is a certain number of these type of tables that will have wheelchair accessible places at them. I think it's based off of, the number of students. Is there 4 tables that have 2 wheelchair accessible areas spread throughout the cafeteria? We don't put them all in one area. We spread it out, and there's different areas for them to sit. So yes, when we go to place and order and place this furniture, those will be included.
Now, being that this is an elementary school, are there anything, do they have school lockers, or is that more a middle school and high school thing? Because we got jammed up on that too across the board. We don't have accessible school lockers.
That is primarily a middle and high school feature, but the students do, and Al, you may go to that. The students do have a coat hook and a little cubby, if you will. When they enter the classroom, they can put their backpacks on those little coat hooks below, is the thought, and have an individual cubby. The storage above that's primarily for the teacher for classroom supplies.
Okay.
There are actually no lockers for the elementary. As Margaret said, they have a cubby in this particular room that they can put all of their things in, and it is lowered, for them to be able to access it, as the sink is, I believe, right, Margaret?
That's right. All our casework is at the 34-inch height to allow accessibility. So that's throughout the school.
Yeah, sadly, just for a point of reference, sadly, on a lot of our facilities, I don't know what they were thinking, but for the required height of like sinks and stuff and counters, they didn't account for the fact that you typically have a 2-inch counter on top of the structure underneath. So everything's off by like 2 inches.
Oh, shucks, yeah.
Yeah,
you'll see our dimensions like here, it's 2'10" to the top level. And something we talked about earlier today, Matt, and I know the appliances are things that we usually get from that usually the county supplies, but one thing that we've learned through doing housing is that since we do have this 2'10" height for the work surface for these counters, if you buy just a typical range, that's going to put that range, the top of that range, at 36 inches. And what we've found that works really well are the drop-in type ranges. So it can just drop right in at that 34, be real flush at that 34-inch height, and then has the frontal controls on it. And it makes a really nice and functional, accessible installation.
Okay. That's something we certainly can talk about. I'm not sure that the elementary grade levels will be obviously be using this range. It would be more in the CDC if an aide or a teacher has to fix a particular meal for a student. But it's worth a continued discussion.
And the big thing to remember is, don't forget, if there is a teacher or an aide who needs that facility to be functional for them too, they should have a disability. In the bathrooms, are you using hand dryers, or what's the setup for, because one of the things we've noticed with bathrooms is where the sink is and where the paper towels and or hand dryers is typically on a wall that's you're already got your hands wet and you got to turn around and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So I was wondering, how's that being looked at in regards to the restrooms?
Yeah, I was on mute. So in the single toilets, it's on the sidewall by the sinks. So directly on that sidewall. And then in the group toilets, they're kind of placed on the sidewalls and in between the sinks.
And I'm assuming that handles and everything on the faucets, or what kind of faucets are y'all using in terms of, do you have to grip it? Do you just, or are they levers, or, what kind of stuff are you using for that?
So Paul or Margaret, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that these sinks, right, in the group toilets are automatic. That there is no handle. And then in the single toilets, I believe that they are the handles.
Lever.
Lever.
Yeah, and and I'm sure you all know this too, but in these elementary and middle schools, so many, we typically have the sinks and the hand washing areas there so the teachers can observe it, and it's more of that trough type sink that you're seeing there. You can get lots of little hands in there. At the same time, the teacher can kind of keep an eye on it.
Okay, I was getting the rest of my DAGWould folks. You got any questions? I was giving y'all time to think of stuff.
Hey, Cindy, Matt actually answered one. I was going to ask about the elevator, but Matt answered that because I didn't see it.
Yes, I apologize. I forgot to point that out.
No, that's okay. Matt said that. I figured there was, but I just was okay.
To clarify, yes, it's when you come in that south entry, you have the admin in this corner, and then right around the corner from these stairs is the elevator. So it's embedded within that two-story classroom bar right at the beginning of the corridor.
So I'm just curious, is the second floor designated for something, or is it just extra classroom for whatever they want to use it for?
It's
was
for
it
the
built
grade
designated
level structure. We'll see the 3rd through the 5th grade on the 2nd floor, and keep the younger children on the 1st floor. Code required reasons to keep the younger children on the floor of egress.
Yeah, and I think Cindy mentioned that was one thing that even the new senior centers got, because we got the tables that actually bolt down to the concrete and they're already built, and we didn't have any that were wheelchair accessible. So that was something that needed to be addressed too. I think that was all I had. Things needed to be lowered, but with elementary school, I think everything's going to be low.
I was going to ask on an elementary school, I didn't notice any kind of like auditorium or anything, like when they put on their like school programs, like the Christmas pageant or whatever. Where does that happen in the school?
It was in the cafeteria, wasn't it?
So that happens in the gym right now. We have that platform area.
Okay.
It's to the south in the gym room, and you can see it in elevation right here. So it's just 2 feet up, and it's just a recess in this gym area.
Okay.
Cindy, I have a question. If you all are finished. It seems to me that there's a variety of understandings of ADA, and it's terribly complex. We're audited on it every year, and you always find out something new. I was curious. Of course, McCarty is a pretty large firm, and you all seem to have a very good knowledge of it. But how are the architects locally trained in ADA? Is there something coming through the Architectural Association? Is it only when things change that there's some training opportunities offered? Is everybody just doing it in-house? Because it seems like with the complexity of the law and the issues we keep running up against, that somebody doesn't know quite what the law is or what would work best.
I think that's an excellent question. And I have to say that, we typically, they may touch on it a little bit and make students aware when they're in college going through their architectural training, but there's so much to learn. They're in school, when we receive our degree, we're mostly taught in the process of design. Right. Yeah. And those codes and accessibility guidelines and all those things are really left to the firms when we enter a firm as young architects and for training. And in a firm such as ours, we do learn by practice. And you're right. I mean, when you're designing different types of building, you're designing the same type of building all the time, you pretty soon kind of flush out all those issues where you're designing a different type of project type, whether it's a university building or it's a hotel or it's a affordable housing or it's a school or whatever. You always are learning. There is no way that any of us know it all. And if we tell you we do, we're telling you a big story, because we really don't. In a firm such as ours, we do have a couple of folks in our firm who dive a little bit deeper and usually review our work for code and ADA accessibility related guidelines. We have a quality assurance checklist that all our projects go through at the different phases, and it has some key points on it. But even that, we will never be perfectly able to, know we've caught everything. But the more we go through it, and the more we, each one of us learn and we're exposed to different projects with each other, slowly it kind of builds that acumen. But it is a challenge. And you're right, it does change. And we do, and I should say too that the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, when a new ruling or something big changes or is a new law is enacted or something, you will see a lot of seminars that kind of pop up for that, and we kind of keep our eye to that and make sure some one of us is participating in play that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else want to ask something about anything? This is your opportunity. Everybody was curious as to where the design process, especially, I guess, particularly on a design build like this, where would the public get their opportunity to comment on stuff, as it's being designed and going forward? Where would they get their chance to provide input?
Well, on this, and every process is different because it is every community that gets a new school, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of, kind of wanting to see what's happening and participating and giving feedback. And I think the county and Knox County schools, when we got to, Matt, remind me, was it the end of schematic design? I can't remember. I think when we got to the end of schematic design and we'd kind of gotten our hands around the site and how you can tell there's a lot of school going on a small site here, and we got it all to fit and generated some of those initial first drawings. We did have an opportunity to present that there in the gymnasium. Everybody wore their mask, and we kind of had socially distanced, kind of stations around the gymnasium there in the current Lonsdale school, and the community came through and provided comments and asked questions and things like that. Like I mentioned, the principal was able to, we made presentation of the principal, and she engaged the community in the way the school looks inside with colors and all that kind of thing. And of course, we presented at the board, it gets approved at the school board meetings and presented to them. So for this process, that's how it happened.
Okay.
I think, in most of the traditional processes, Cindy, the traditional design, bid, build, there doesn't seem to be much community input. The architect designs the school from start to finish. We bid the project out. We receive our bids, make sure the lowest bid is, a responsive and responsible contractor, and then we start building. Not a lot of area or opportunity for any input. Should that change? I certainly can see, getting the community's input on this. As Margaret said, we had a very good 2-hour presentation of the community and the teachers and staff and everybody who gathered in the, it was really just a walkthrough. You could walk through and see what they had done. And we got several good comments on it. If I'm not mistaken, probably made some changes based on those once we got to looking at it and, getting someone else's view of it. And, but there's just, I think in the traditional process, there's just not a lot of opportunity for input.
I think one of the unique things about a school system that's as large as Knox County's, the school system has invested a lot of time and thought through the years in what they call their Knox County school standards. And they pretty rigidly adhere to those, I think, in an effort to make sure that throughout all the communities in Knox County, there's equity in the way they're building schools. They're not building fancier or more Spartan schools in different parts of the neighborhood. Just different parts of the county. They take a very even-handed approach to give all students in the county, kind of equal playing field of facility. And so that's why, they're pretty darn detailed standards that we design to, and that their staff make sure we're adhering to make sure that the schools are all equitable in the community.
I guess one thing I'm wondering is you guys obviously know a lot about this and put a lot of effort and thought into this. And the builders that get this, do you know if they have training and understanding of the ADA thought that you put into this? The guy that's actually installing the toilet understands why you designed it the way you did this. Do you have any idea if that happens so they don't install it incorrectly?
Well, I think you'll find a lot of details and dimensions on our drawings. So really that responsibility lies with us, that they get it in the right place. It's supposed to be detailed, and we're supposed to, from our drawings and documents, that they should be directed to put it in the right place. I'm sure, I don't know for sure, but I'm sure those in the construction industry probably get some same seminars. I don't know if all the guys out there in all the trades and subs might know those things, but if they've worked in the business long enough, you know, if they don't comply with the dimensions, or if our dimensions were wrong for some reason, or they don't comply in the installation and the code authority comes out and sees it's wrong, it only takes one time changing something like that. And as difficult as those things can be, I'm sure they learn by doing the same way we do.
Well, I think too, Mark, you know, when you know, you're dealing with a building of this size, you have your major subcontractors. You have a mason, you have an electrical subcontractor, you have a plumbing subcontractor. And those are firms that are large enough who, number one, have the capacity to plumb a school. They're staying up on you know, they're staying up on the new requirements and everything else. Just like Margaret said, you know, here's where it's supposed to go. If you don't put it there, it's your dime when I tell you to take it out and fix it. But I think they stay abreast of that. The larger ones, you know, who are building these type of buildings, stay abreast of the requirements. And you know, we would hope if they see something that they would, you know, at least question, you know, hey, is this correct? Is this the right, you know, height or width or, you know, side, whatever the case may be. We would hope they would come to us with that as well.
You know, it would be really nice to have some kind of model facility and to have some way to bring in architects and, you know, all these other associated trades and show people in real life what some of these things look like and why they're done. And I would think that might be an opportunity, Cindy, for something maybe we could help sponsor. I don't know when you're opening. I don't know how much time there is before the students would actually be there. Of course, that nobody knows when the students are going to be anywhere, but at this point. But is that maybe a possibility that it could be used as a learning tool?
It has the potential to. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about how to try to pull that off and who all would be involved.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a fairly large invitation list. I mean, we've got, as Margaret mentioned, we got the AIA folks. I don't think the planners that I'm associated with would be necessarily find a lot of information that's useful to them to help apply to disability, but certainly some of the other folks that build it, construct it, operate it.
You know, that's kind of a loaded question in a way too, because you know, what really is an ideal facility with respect to ADA? Because I mean, we have a lot, in fact, just within this project, we have a lot of conversations in house about, you know, like I bring up all the time, you know, auto door openers, and Allie mentioned it earlier in the presentation. Those are not required, you know, they're not required by code. And at the same time, I was just sharing with Margaret and Allie earlier, you know, trying to get my 85-year-old mother, you know, in a wheelchair to get her COVID shot and through doors without auto door openers was a huge challenge.
Yeah.
And, you know, but, you know, it's like anything that we deal with, there are always economic limits. You know, I mean, we could put auto door operators on every door, but, you know, there's a point of, there's a point that you couldn't afford the project. Right. So, you know, you try to be judicious about those things. And
that's certainly an understandable position.
Well, and I'd shared, you know, kind of an anecdote I share from time to time when I completed the North Greenhouse over at UT. One of the primary grad students that was going to be in that facility was with a fantastic young lady, wheelchair bound. Very bright, but she had, you know, some physical limitations, and it was really eye-opening for me to go through. You know, it was a great opportunity for me because I went through and it was a very compact facility, so we didn't have a lot of room. You know, clearly one of the biggest issues is having additional space, just maneuverability. And, it was difficult to begin with because we didn't have a lot of space to put this, it was one of those projects that I always term as, 20 pounds of, what in a 5-pound sack. It was just really large for the amount of land that we had to build it on. And we met all the ADA requirements, in terms of those clearances, 60-inch turnarounds, you meet the letter of the code. And, often there are places that it's just not enough. So your question about ideal facility, kind of thing, you may meet the letter of the code and it's not an ideal facility. We all know that.
Maybe model would have been better term, but example.
I'm sorry.
Might be. But that's something to, think about.
I think that's what Paul gets to is exactly what I was going to ask. I mean, I think it's wonderful that your group, is representing the community and really making sure and bringing this to, all our attention. But as designers, as Paul mentioned, we're trained to meet the letter of the law. If it says it has to be 42 inches clear, we'll make it 42 inches clear, But as Paul mentioned, his mother, well, I too, got my parents around in wheelchairs for a good period of time, and they were on walkers, and I just know that meeting the letter of the law for a certain group of people that whether you have a ramp that ramps around for 120 feet, that may be one thing, but somebody with a walker can't really, go that far. So yeah. I guess I think what would be super valuable for the designers, as Paul mentioned, is when you all experience or find these things in the ADA, they may meet the law, but they're not meeting the really true needs sometimes. I know sometimes minimum bathroom clearances aren't enough if you're in there assisting someone, so it just, you learn by experiencing it. And I think that would be a really eye-opening conversation to have with designers in our community about where it falls short.
You all ever consult with people like in wheelchairs or, that use walkers or different equipment when you're designing?
I have to say we haven't often enough. I know that we have had committees and I think there was someone at the city for a while. I'm not sure if she's still there that would look over projects with us.
Stephanie.
Stephanie, yes, Stephanie.
She's still there.
Okay, I haven't worked on a project there in a while, but I think that's really beneficial when we can.
Well, right, and to your point, I mean, I looked into the fact that I got to do that walkthrough with that young grad student at UT, but again, it was very eye-opening. It was the first time. Again, not to make this all about auto door openers, but she is the first time I had ever heard someone say, well, it's very beneficial to have auto door openers that are 12 inches off the floor. And I said, well, why is that? And she said, well, she could raise her arms and was able to push, one at 48 inches. So that wasn't a problem for her, but she told me she had friends who did not even have that ability. And it was easy for them to use the footrest of their wheelchair to push the button at 12 inch. And, honestly, this was 10 or 12 years ago, but I had never even entertained having, something like that on a project. And of course, it's one of those things that often can be cost prohibitive, especially if you have a lot of those. But, just another example.
I also think, and going back to what Margaret was saying at the very beginning of this, is, how we're trained in school is quite different than what's in the real world. and it's really just a lot of experience. So, for instance, I have moments where at this point in my life, I have young children. So thinking about and seeing different children in different situations gives me a different perspective, and to come into a school project, I think we take different moments and bring it into the projects that we talk a lot internally and, are reviewing the plans in different format, but, you do hear comments of like, hey, we really need to look at this area. It's not working the way that it needs to, or think about it this way, bringing those experiences back into the plans for site or for the building itself.
Right.
Does anybody else have any questions? I don't want to hog the conversation.
It looks really nice. That's just a comment.
I have another question. Back to the restrooms. In terms of, as you're setting things up, one of the things I've noticed in regards to, reading through the transition plan, and a lot of the restrooms, the toilet flush mechanism is on the wrong side of the toilet for someone that they've got to stretch across, as opposed to be close to them in their wheelchair or in their walker even. Is that something that you guys do as part of your design, or is that left to someone else who picks the fixtures that go in the restroom?
Or are they doing automatic now?
Which is a whole nother thing, because some of those automatics are really potent. And I've heard people complain about that.
Feel like you're going down with it, right?
Exactly.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The flush valves many times that is something that our plumbing engineers specify, but that is a great point. I haven't heard that before. So that's something we can look into. A lot of times they are, they're mechanisms that are specified and they're very common. So, but we can definitely look into that. Thank you.
I remember hearing about this after the Gibbs project. I did not know you could have a left handle or a right handle. You look at my house, they're all left. You go to Lowe's, they're all left. But I did find out that you can order a right hand handle. So that was good information for me.
Yeah,
look into that. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, it's just interesting in terms of, I mean, I've had a lot of personal experience too, in terms of people in my life that I've been trying to assist, and, now trying to help others and whatnot, and doing plans review and different things. And even in talking to other members, when I was trying to locate our next member for DAGWould, I was talking to different potential applicants. And one of the ones I was talking to, she was fascinated. I mean, it was, stuff she even mentioned. It was like, I never even thought about that. She was talking about the unisex bathroom, which is great in terms of if you're going and you're trying to help, an elderly parent or opposite sex, you can at least be in there together and do what you're doing. But if you are somebody who has very limited sight or is blind and goes into one of those unisex bathrooms, she said to me, how do you know if the seat's up or down? And you got to figure, and it was like, oh crap, I never even thought about that, because that's never been an issue for when I've been dealing with it. And, but she made the point, you're in there and you're needing to use the restroom and you don't know if the seat's up or down. And then God forbid, you've got to feel around, and, you're talking about germs, you're talking about we're in the time of COVID, and it's like, oh, geez, and it was like, but she's right. It's not the be all that everybody kind of thought it was, but I remembered I was ecstatic when I first got to start using unisex bathrooms that were big enough to, go in with someone to help them out. And it was like, I'm gonna have to think on that one some more in terms of, you know, but then you get back into the cost, you know, if you were to install something that had the automatic, you know, that the seat just automatically went back down all the time, you know, what would that cost, you know? But it's just, like I said, just kinds of different things. And even though, like the automatic doors are not required by ADA, sadly, April learned on her Carnes Senior Center, doors were not installed. And it was like, that
I assumed it was going to be done.
because it was a senior center. It was like, those are the first who are most likely to need it in day-to-day business.
I was told ADA requirement was just to have the double door opening, that they didn't have to be automatic, but we've got that done since we got that done last year, which is great because I was struggling watching people struggle. Honestly, that was hard because especially all the stuff we have go on at the senior centers, you know, like for instance, potlucks. Try and picture this little old lady with her potluck dish and a cane, you know, trying to open the door. And it's just, it didn't make sense to me. But yeah, that's a good point, Cindy. It's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement, but there's, on the design, there should have been a heavier push to point out for this type population that would be using that facility, that should have been a standard kind of thing to just go ahead and make it part of it, you know, but anyhow, but it's one of those live and learn.
We're going to be really happy about it. Going to be excited.
Yes, because I got the final bill the other day, so it is. But that just happened in January, and that facility is only like 4 years old.
Yeah,
you know, and we got a lot of other issues out there.
We had a lot of stuff come up for a facility that was brand new. So it's good that you guys are looking at this now.
Yeah, which is another question, because it's like, I know on any plans I've reviewed in the past, I've never seen signage as part of the plan. You know, you might just see a sign, but in terms of, I know for us, once again, a lot of the signs were not necessarily at the right location, or weren't on the side of the door that they should have been for where the handle was to get into like the restroom. All that kind of stuff. When does that happen? And once again, you know, part of the problem gets back into, even if it's, you know, if it's on the plans and was inspected and got constructed right, if at any point when maintenance comes in to fix something, are they putting it back in the right place? And it's something I've been thinking about. And I know a friend of mine Anna told us a funny story in regards to the Braille signs. She was in a building and all the Braille signs were wrong, and they didn't figure it out till they actually had somebody going around, and all of the name tags, because the Braille machine that made the sign was like off and they didn't know it, and they installed it, and even their business cards were wrong and they were in Braille.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, but stuff like that happens, you know, and you got to recover from it, but it happens. Anyhow.
When you speak of the signage, that is pretty common. As many years as I've been doing this, it's pretty common for that signage. There'll be a generic specification, you know, that says you're going to have to number all the rooms and, you know, to kind of give you that. But a lot of times that signage does happen in the submittal process during construction. One sheet in our typical construction documents we didn't share with you today is we have one sheet that early in our drawings that, you know, tells you where to put signs, where to put grab bars, how high a sink can be, how high a counter can be. It's that one sheet that tries to get as much of those ADA mounting heights correct as you can. So that's just kind of a resource within the drawing set. And And we recently, I mean, I'll just tell you, recently we realized that we had some confusing dimensions on our sign placement on our main sheet. So we've updated that, and we're continually kind of going through and trying to check those things. But that's typically what we do. And in a building like this, you can imagine that room naming and numbering is something that the school system and their maintenance staff and, their security department and everything wants to have a part in of making sure all the rooms get named and numbered properly, so that they have all their schools kind of named and numbered in the same manner. So it's a pretty big deal on a school like this, and we'll continue to work with them. And
I remember at Gibbs, we went over the signage, I don't know how many times, way more than we did about the brick or colors or anything else. We looked at signage so many times.
Yep.
But it looks good out there too. There's good wayfinding at the beginning of the halls as well as the doors. I will say that the school security, is very involved in how the rooms are numbered. Because they need to know, hey, is it consecutive? Is it even on one side, odd on the others, in case they need to, get into that school and they need to know exactly where 212 is. They're not guessing, well, it goes 201, 203, 206. They know exactly where they're going to go.
Anybody else have any questions, comments?
I'd like to go ahead and throw out an invitation. I mean, we're 15, 16 months away, but I will go ahead and throw out the invitation and be sure that Cindy, at least get with you when the ribbon cutting is and open house, because there will be. Certainly invite all of you all out to come and look around. We've got obviously Adrian Burnett is going to be built in this time frame too. New Northwest, believe bids open next week, if I'm not mistaken, the Northwest Elementary. So we've got 3 good projects coming up, and I'll be glad to include you all in grand openings for all of them.
That's very nice of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
We
I like the flag. Just wanted to comment about that. I like the flags that you guys did. That was a great idea.
This is as we all said, it's a very unique school, and the number of national. I don't believe there's another school in Knox County like it. I really don't. I think if I've heard correctly, it's 68 or 70% are non-English speaking students. Wow. So that aspect of it, I'd love to find it right. I'd like to have it right in that main hallway. Cafeteria will work. It's a place where the community will be able to get together and have meetings or PTAs or birthday party, whatever they want to do. And that'll be very prominent in there too. So it's a great idea. April Parton, the principal, was very, very adamant that we do something with that. Correct, Margaret?
Yes, they were very proud. It's something that they change every year. They're very proud of the many nations that their students come from, and it creates a very unique and special culture there for that school, and they try every way they can to celebrate that. So it's really great.
The night of the little open house that we did, I think it wasn't 5 minutes after Miss Parton met Margaret that they were upstairs looking at that. She took her right up there to see it and capture that right off the bat. It was great.
This has been very helpful to see it from your all's perspective. And I'm looking forward to touring one of the new buildings. So Cindy will let us know when you all are having some open houses. That would be great. Maybe not everybody can go to every one, but
Yes, we had been, prior to COVID-19, doing a tour of one of each of our types of facilities. We've been to, let's see, we were at the Carnes Senior Center, we were at the Bearden Library, which was hilarious when we all plowed into the bathroom, and it was hilarious. Shazi went, I can't even use this restroom that's supposed to be ADA compliant. and people wanting to come in and use the facility. Oh, don't mind us, we're just looking. But we were there. We were Carnes Middle School, because it's both the school and a polling facility, and Carter Park, which I have an update on here after we wrap this one up. So, but each location has similar type problems, and they were just representative ones that we went out to take a look at. And then COVID hit and we quit touring, but I think everybody got the point as to what all the problems are that we're up against in terms of trying to retrofit things, but would really like to just have things that are under construction now just meet from the get-go, so we don't have to, retrofit them too. So
one thing that we had after we opened Carnes Senior Center, because that is actually the only senior center that's used as a voting site too, which that was agreed upon before we opened. But once they started the voting, we figured out that we had to cut, because it's a separate entrance. So we had to actually have the curb cut out where that entrance was. And, we just didn't think of something like that ahead of time. So there are things that do come up. And we got it done. It worked out good. So, but curbs, yeah, those are big issues too.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. We have a team of consultants, like I mentioned. It's not only us, it's our our civil engineer, sometimes landscape architects, our mechanical and electrical and plumbing engineer, structural. I mean, we're all kind of try to be tuned into it, and it takes all of us doing it. But I feel really special that we had the opportunity to look at the school with you today. We appreciate so much the invitation, and would love it if you did come out. And we learn a lot of times from this profession by doing, and learn by, I tell young architects, we learn the most by our mistakes. So I hope we've got some mistakes that we've learned on other projects that we've carried forward successfully in this project. But I would love to tour it with you all. If you all saw anything that we can do better on the next school, or may have to fix on this one, I hope not, but it's very helpful for us and for growing and making ourselves as professionals in our firm better each time. So thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And definitely thanks for coming, taking the time to share the presentation with us and the information. I know we spent a lot of time going around to different schools and libraries and stuff and looking at their structures and things like that as a group. And for you guys to come and kind of show us the front end of the design and stuff, it's really helpful for us. And like you said, for you guys too. So thank you for coming and sharing this with us. We really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
And you are more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or if you need to take off, you're welcome to do that too. We just have a few updates to take care of. So
We'll probably just get on back to our day-to-day job. So thanks again for having us. We hope to see you at the open house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mark, you're back on item 3. Oops, did we lose Mark?
He's muted.
Mark, you're muted. You need to get your audio turned back on.
Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes? Do you have any changes or things you'd like to put forward before we go to approve them?
This is Stanley, and I make a motion that we approve them.
Second.
Okay. So I guess we have to go down the line here to do it. So Shawzy, are you in favor?
Do I get a vote? I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you're April,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Stanley,
Yes.
Catherine,
Unmute. Currently muted. Hold plus A button to activate. Press space bar. Mute. Currently unmuted. Hold plus A button to activate. Press space bar.
okay, and I vote yes. So we carry them then. Motion carried for the minutes to be approved for the last meeting. Let's see. Next agenda is Knox County Commission agenda.
I'm sorry,
That
this
would be
is
me.
Catherine. I'm gonna have to go because because of my transportation, but thank you very much. I hope to keep joining now. Hopefully things will slow down here a little bit and I can participate in the meetings. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Catherine. I just wanted to give you all an update since we actually had 2 items on County Commission's agenda Monday night. Sorry, not Monday. It would have been Monday, but Monday was a holiday. So their workshop was held Tuesday night at 5 o'clock. And on the agenda, first up was the DAGWould nominations and the new nominee to take Tim's slot. Good news on that was that went through on consent. So it'll be forwarded to next Monday's commission for an official vote. So that was great. So that there was no discussion. I like when that happens. Yes, ma'am.
Cindy, who was it?
What was what?
Didn't you say somebody was nominated?
Yes, Sarah Holloway. And she
Okay.
is on the line.
I'm here. Yeah.
She and
Okay,
Sarah.
there she is.
Hi.
Sorry, I guess I missed that.
That was before the meeting actually started today. We were doing some chatting back and forth.
Okay, I missed her. Sorry, Sarah.
No problem.
That's okay. But Sarah will be officially joining us. And I'm not expecting any discussion next week either. So but we'll see what happens. But I will be online to watch what actually happens at commission. But we're in good shape at this point. So then we'll be back up to our 9 members.
Good.
And then other item that was on commission agenda was Carter Park. Shauna and I, she helped. I did most of it because she was kind of swamped, but we had written a request for proposals to actually go out and make Carter Park ADA compliant. And we have gone through that entire process in terms of advertising for proposals, selecting them, and the contract was on commission's agenda Tuesday night as part of the workshop. And there were some questions and whatnot that I answered, and that was voted to be on consent next week as well. So if all goes according to plan, the designer should start the job in March, and it should take 10 months. So I will keep you posted as that progresses. So
Cindy, who are you
does any-
recommending?
Kinley Horn Associates is who actually got the most points when we scored them out on the RFP. We were very happy with what they had to propose, and so that's who we're going with. And like I said,
Can you say that again, Cindy?
Kimley Horn Associates,
Okay.
KIMLEY -Horn, HORN.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. But that's who we will be working with. And interestingly enough, those are the same folks that did our transition plan. So I'm very, very happy about that they got it, because I know they understand ADA and what we're up against and what we're looking at in regards to the park. So, and the idea for the park is it will not only do the park, but this is a really unique property. I don't know if you remember or not, but the actual property has the park with all of its facilities and ball fields and everything, but there's also a senior center and a library out there. And the ball fields are used by the Carter High School. So we're going to have like 4 different apartments that'll be improved by this project. This is only for the design. It's not for the construction, but they think it's going to take about, the proposed schedule at this point is about 10 months in length. So this could potentially be under construction next year, next fiscal year. So that's good news. So any other questions, comments? And anybody, and that was all I had for County Commission agenda. And then so it's back to Mark, and it's just anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Did y'all enjoy today's session? Just
Yes.
It was very good. It's a good presentation.
They're a real class act. When is our next meeting, Cindy? And do we know?
It is in May.
Okay.
It is, I think it's like May 20th, I think is the 3rd Thursday.
Okay.
Yes, May 20th is the next one. It is, the 21 schedule is posted on the county website, and I will get the minutes that were just approved today added up there too, so you'll have everything you need for now. Does anybody have any suggestions for what you want to talk about or have presented to you in May?
We'll think about it.
I was going to say, we have to think about
That's okay. I will do some thinking as well. Normally, before these meetings, I get together with the chair and we kind of shoot ideas around and whatnot. But unfortunately, and if you were late for the start of the meeting, I was letting folks know that Anna unfortunately got her COVID vaccine because of her job that she has, but she is under the weather from side effects from it. So that's why she's not with us on the line today. So she and I never got to do our usual
first dose or second dose.
Must be second.
I thought it was her first,
Oh.
but I don't have to ask her again.
Good if you get a reaction.
So
to the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, it was by text, so I don't know very much.
Right.
So I figure I'll bug her later. So, so we hadn't had a chance to talk, because usually that's when we start bouncing ideas around. Then we kind of share them with you during this meeting to get a feel for what you'd like to hear or see. So I will, if you guys come up with any thoughts or whatever, let me know. But I'll be chatting with Anna to see what kind of ideas she might have too. So, okay.
Give her our best if you talk to her.
I shall.
You know, it might be nice to have some employers.
Speaking of,
It might be nice to have some employers who regularly employ individuals with disabilities. They're not themselves disability organizations, if that makes sense. People who have found disabled people valuable employees.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
That's a great idea, Nancy.
We had some of that at work, and it really is eye-opening.
I think I can get something arranged for that. So thank you. That's a very good suggestion.
Yep.
speaking of COVID vaccine, as it starts rolling out more and more for general population, and it already is starting to kind of filter down to disability people, I'm wondering, even especially in Knox County, obviously for us, but access for people with disabilities, whether it's the site that they're going to distribute them, if they're going to have distribution sites, or, kind of where I'm going with this, maybe if they're to go to get the shot, or either ways for just hearing or being impaired to sign up for the, or things like that.
I'm glad you asked that, because I'm hoping you all got my email that I had sent out in regards to the COVID-19. What the health department asked me to share with you, and I want you to share it with anybody that you know also, is what they asked for was that that you sign up on the waiting list. And even though you are living independently, but you have a disability, when you go online to register for the waiting list, that you check off on that DIDD, I think it is, which indicates that you are either a individual who is a staff person, or that you live in some kind of a facility, which is obviously not the case, but they're using that to kind of filter down better, because they didn't have another block that y'all fit in. And so that they would come back with you with another email, is my understanding, to check with you, because they would, the next step would be they would send you when you would be getting your COVID shot. And if it turned out, like, say you were sent to go to like the expo center, big crowd where they move them in, move them out really fast, but say you had a mobility issue, couldn't move that fast or whatever, when you got your email telling you to go to that location, at that point, that is when you need to either email or call the health department and explain to them why you can't use that site. And then they will send you to a different location where they're, they're moving slower, that they don't shove you through the system, that they take their time with you. My understanding is they're going to be trying to tap into like some of the senior centers for that, in terms of distributing the COVID vaccine. And I'm not sure where else they have in mind yet, because they were still getting places set up to do that. But they've strongly recommended that you go ahead and sign up on the website for the wait list and mark that one block. And I want to say it was DIDD was what it was called. And I what was funny was I even shared that with Stephanie Cook, who's the ADA coordinator for the city. And she goes, "You mean they want me to lie?" And I said, "Yes, because it's the closest thing that they have in terms of a filtering process." And it was just what they had to do when whoever they hired to set up the form for registering, it was the best they could do at the time. So that's why that weird glitch is in there about checking that box, but that'll help the health department figure out who needs additional assistance. So does that make sense to y'all in terms of
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yep.
And like I said, please share that information, that email with anybody that you know, because we're trying to help get the word out that that's what people need to do.
And April, this might be important for the veterans in your group, and let you know whatever is they're doing shots in Knoxville at the VA. I actually got a call and was like, "Hey, we're determined you're eligible. Come in." Okay, but they're
Oh, really? At the
they have
VA?
shots at the VA in Knoxville. They're getting them in slowly.
So how do you?
Right
how
now,
do you-
it's 65 and over, and then certain disabilities. I don't know which ones exactly, but
the VA over on Downtown West.
what's up?
The VA over at Downtown West. They're doing them.
Yeah, I walked in there. They said they made me an appointment, and they said, "Yeah, come on back." Boom, got my card, left, and there were the day that I went. They said they had gotten 1,000 doses that day.
Good.
So
Good to
it's
know.
something to look into for your older veterans.
Thank you.
They must do some different guidelines than what the state's doing because they're federal, maybe. Don't know.
Did you have a reaction, Mark, with the first one?
Do what?
Did you get a reaction when you got your first shot?
I got nauseous a little bit, and then my arm was sore for like 3 days. I get my second one next Friday. I got the Moderna.
You do well with it.
I got mine Friday, and if you've had COVID, you sort of have a repeat of all of your symptoms. And it was just like the first day I went into the hospital, and I thought, this is terrible. The second day was a little bit better. The third day was noticeably better. And by the fourth day, I was back to 100%. So apparently, if you've had the problem, it will happen the second time also. And we're going to be better prepared because my husband and I both went to have our shots at the same time. We both had COVID. It was not a happy night that night. I had to call my son-in-law for some help at one point.
Goodness. Yeah, it's funny. My sister, she's a doctor, and so she's had it. She went through fine. She didn't have any issues, but a good friend of mine, she said like 12 hours after getting it, she hit the wall, and she was like, I just wanted my mom, and I wanted to, stay in bed for 2 days. So
when you can't lift your head off the pillow or sit up, it gets to causing problems.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you have it.
Yeah, I am too. I would never discourage anybody from having it. I do need to go. So I will see you guys next time. And this was really good today. Cindy, you're doing a great job with the meetings.
Yeah.
And
thanks, Cindy. And thanks, Mark.
Mark and Anna too, for sure.
And welcome.
Have a good week, folks.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Adjourned.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Was Sandra on the meeting? Was she on here? Sandy?
Was who?
Sandy, Sandra?
No, I never saw her name on there.
Okay. I was trying to get who all we have and everything. Okay.
Yeah, I never saw her name come up on the participant list.
Okay.
So are we adjourned or what?
Make the motion, April.
Huh?
You want to make a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn if there's no other business or announcements. Is there any other announcements, Mark? Any happy news or anything?
We had a page. That's it.
There you go.
There you go. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I just can't leave without saying it. Sorry.
Oh, you already knew. Yeah.
Things right now. So
Yeah.
thank you, Mark.
You need a second to your motion.
I second. I'll second.
And then you got to vote.
And all in favor?
Has to be one at a time.
Oh, we have to do one at a time.
Yeah, because we're virtual.
Okay, Mark,
All right.
Sarah.
Aye.
I think that's it. So all in favor? There are only 4 of us left. So. That's it. That was easy.
Take care.
All right.
Till next time.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.